Council meeting to order. This time, Councilor Vasquez, would you bless the meeting?
Certainly. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for all the gifts that you have blessed us with. We ask for continued grace and the tribal counselors that are doing the business for the Cherokee people. We thank you for everyone here and pray for safety, and also pray for those who are suffering with COVID. We ask for an end to the pandemic and your help in all things. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Councilor. Roll call, Kelly.
Joe Bird.
Connie.
Shannon Duncan.
Connie.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Robert Dozer.
Here.
Julia Coates. Tom Crittenden.
Connie.
Joe Deere.
Connie.
Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Rick Gordon.
Here.
Daryl Legg. Wes Snowfire.
Connie.
Dora Peskowski. Here. Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw.
Connie.
Theo Smith.
Here.
James Taylor. Here. Victoria Westwood. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Shelley. This time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it. We'll drop down the reports. Marshal Shannon Buell. Got to beam up. Are you ready, Marshal? Okay, we can come back to him. Let us go to the Office of Attorney General, Sarah Hill. I know she's here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Here.
Appreciate the opportunity to appear before the council. I'll try to keep it brief for me. This month has been, continues to be very busy at the Attorney General's office. We're working on several McGirt-related issues, as we have been consistently since July 9th of this year. We have added 3 new employees to our staff: Jenny Johnson, Cody Boland, and Raquel Cochran, 2 attorneys and a paralegal, all Cherokees. Jenny and Cody both come from state prosecutors' offices. Jenny worked in Tulsa County and Cody worked for District 27. I'm very happy and relieved to add some additional prosecutorial experience to my staff. I have a lot of confidence in all 3 of the people that we've hired. Raquel comes from the Cherokee County Courthouse, and she's got a paralegal experience working directly with criminal and district court cases. So I'm very pleased to have all 3 of them. It is not the end of my hiring streak, depending upon the action the tribal council, actually you took action on it, I think. No, it'll be on the next, it'll be on the ENF next one. We're requesting some additional funding to do some more hiring, which we still need to do. But I'm pleased to have them on staff. We also continue to prepare for our post-McGirt world. That includes talking to cities, counties, state agencies, and the many other people in the state who are involved with law enforcement. There are, every single thing that we've talked about in here has 50 different little strings attached to it, 50 little different issues that have to be discussed. And this really, this is advanced intergovernmental cooperation that's required for this to be successful. So we're trying to do that with all the different entities involved. We're continuing to make changes to our criminal code, which is part of that process, and you're going to you voted on some of them last night. There are more of them on the Rules Committee meeting today, and I will have still more in January. So I appreciate your patience, and I appreciate you continuing to thoughtfully take up the matters that the AG's office places in front of you in this area. It's very important. This one today will be focused on the traffic code. We also had a very productive meeting with OJA today, the Office of Juvenile Affairs. They handle juvenile justice, which is a big issue that the Cherokee Nation is responsible for, and you'll see it reflected in the budget mod at Executive and Finance Committee. But that was a very productive meeting. I can't say enough good stuff about the folks at OJA. They've really modeled good, respectful tribal state cooperation. And one of the ways they've done that is to provide us access to their JOLTS system. That's where they maintain their records on juveniles. Tribes will have access for the first time to that system. So if you have a juvenile who commits a crime in the state, it's important for us to know that. If that juvenile offends then and it's put before our court, I need to know what that child's history is. I need to know what interventions have been tried before, how successful they were. And that information is contained in the JOLT system. So they've been collaboratively working with us to help us gain access, which sounds like it would be a small thing. It's definitely not a small thing for them to be able to do that for us. And I appreciate their partnership and their working with us. So that's sort of what we've been doing over the last month, continuing a lot of the work that I've updated you on before. As I made the council aware, there was new litigation filed with the UKB. The UKB informed the NIGC that it intends to begin gaming at facilities that it intends to license inside the boundaries of the Cherokee Reservation. In those filings, the UKB asserts that it has legal jurisdiction over the Cherokee Reservation. That legal position is not supported by fact or law, but the Cherokee Nation must defend its sovereignty, and we will do so. The UKB also recently lost a case in the district court, which I updated you on earlier. They attacked a Cherokee Nation district court case. They lost that case in the district court, but they have appealed it to the 10th Circuit. So we will continue to defend the nation's sovereignty in that case as well. Other than that, there have been a lot of other things that I consider more normal workday things. And I know you have a lot on your agenda today, so I'll take any questions if you have them.
Any questions for our Attorney General? Yes, Councilor Shambaugh.
Do we have any idea when the Hogner case will be ruled on?
I do not. I check it every single day, Councilman, because I don't know. I just don't have any sense of it. There's lots of conventional wisdom. All of it is equally as likely to be right or wrong. So it's just a waiting game at this point. We did see that there was a Muskogee County case. That case has also now been transmitted up to the Court of Criminal Appeals. So it's not just Hogner now that they have. They have, I think, probably at least 5 Cherokee cases in front of them that they could rule on at any time.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is how many other cases had there been filed? So, okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Appreciate you, Sarah. Be safe. Merry
Thank you.
Christmas. Okay, I think we're back to our marshal. He has his technical issues resolved, I think. Marshal Shannon Buell.
Yes, good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Before we get started on the rules packet, we had a special operations call out Sequoia County this month where we had some juveniles that went missing. We found them on the ridge line between a runoff of Tinker Lake and a bluff, about a 120-foot bluff. Our marshal, the SAR team for the Marshal Service, went down the bluff and rescued those kids, got them back to their grandparents, safe and sound, and we were able to get them some shoes and warm clothes because they'd lost their shoes and clothes, their jackets, in the process of getting lost. So we got that taken care of. We have our jail agreements for all the jails that we're going to be concerned about over in contracts right now, getting the contract signed on that. We're getting ready to open, we have opened a deputy marshal position. We're going to be opening some investigator positions, transport officers, and a SORNA coordinator position. Those of you who know Danny Tanner, he's the captain, kind of second in command of the Marshal Service. He put in his paperwork to retire from the agency effective December 20th, so he will be leaving us. I think he's going to be building homes up in Monkey Island or something like that. He's always wanted to do that kind of stuff. So other than that, is there any questions on my packet? I know we have a busy schedule of rules today.
Any questions for Marshal? Yeah, Councilor Pasikowski. Go ahead.
Yes, Marshal. In regards to the contracts that you have right now for jail, can you either give us that now or could you email that list to us so that we know who those contracts are with?
Yes, I can get you that email today.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, Councilor Smith.
Yes, sir. We had that early Christmas down in Sequoia County when we saved those 4 babies. That was great. It was a great effort, but I have received so much compliments on how organized the Cherokee Nation was and how they handled themselves like pros, and just a lot of good comments, and I just wanted to brag on y'all for doing that. But it was, one little flashlight made a big difference down there. It was an awesome story. Thank y'all.
Anybody else? Marshall, we appreciate all that you do. Be safe and have a Merry Christmas. Okay, Gwen Terrapin.
See all of you. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
For the month, or for the year to date, we've got 10 total requests with 3 of those outstanding, and all of those are FOIA requests. We haven't had any GRAs, and the website's been updated, and all of you should have a copy of my report. And I hope all of you have a wonderful Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Okay, any questions for Gwen? You're doing an outstanding job. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christmas. Be safe. Tax Commission, Sharon Swepston.
Good morning. I hope you can all hear me this morning.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I think you have my report, and I apologize. I know the last couple of months I hadn't been able to give my report for whatever reason. You couldn't hear me. So hopefully today you can hear me and everything goes well. But you do have my report, and I'll try to entertain any questions that you might have.
Any questions for our Tax Commission? No, I just want to brag on your staff at the Tahlequah office. I got my tag there. I waited like everybody else, went through the process because of our issues here. But they are just so hospitable there, and they really know how to serve the customers. I want to let you know that. You have a really good staff here at Tahlequah office.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'll pass it along to them. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else? Good report. Thank you, Sharon. Have a Merry Christmas and be safe.
Thank you. You too. Everyone have a wonderful holiday.
Gaming Commission, Janice Purcell. All right, Janice, you're up.
She appears to be having technical difficulties again this morning. If I could take any questions, I'd be happy to do that.
Yes, Counselor Austin.
I noticed in her report, she says that they're having a WebEx meeting on December the 18th, and we're all welcome, but she doesn't provide a link. Could you get that link and share it with all of us?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, thank you for Tara Lee for filling in.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Human Resources, Atlanta Castile.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You have my report. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer those for you.
Questions for our HR department? Now, we just appreciate all that you guys do, Atlanta, so keep up the good work.
Well, thank you so much, and you guys have a happy Christmas.
You too. Be safe. Okay, dropping old business, none pending. New business. You know, Counselor Austin, we were going to make some changes and make those appointments, move those up to the front. As I look at our agenda, they are to the front.
Oh, well, I guess it's all the problem.
Yeah, so we'll just go with Debbie Holland, and right at that point, we'll go resolution number 1. Counselor Vasquez, you want to take that?
Sure. This is a resolution supporting the nomination of Deb Holland for Secretary of the Interior. I move for its approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Appreciate that. I think this lady, I hate to lose her on the rep side, but maybe this will be our first Native American cabinet level, so maybe it'll work out. Thank you, everybody, for that. Okay, the item number 2, Counselor Austin, you want to take that?
Gladly. This is a resolution confirming the appointment of Amy Page as a district judge of the Cherokee Nation. I put that in the form of a motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? And she is here. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Is there anything you want to say, Judge?
I'm just very grateful to be here today in front of this council, and I thank you for your time on the agenda. I've welcomed the opportunity to speak to some of you on the phone before today. I'm happy to speak with any of you at any time to talk about my feelings about this position. It's an exciting time for our nation's court, and I look forward to being part of the team. Thank you so much.
We're welcome. Have a Merry Christmas.
You as well.
Item number 3, Counselor Crittenden, you want to take that?
Sir, the resolution confirming the appointment of Rex Earl Starr as a Supreme Court Justice of the Cherokee Nation. I put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, got 1, 2. Put me as a sponsor, Shelley. Okay, moving down to number 4, Counselor Vasquez.
This is a resolution confirming the nomination of Matt Anderson as a board member of the Cherokee National Historical Society Board of Directors. Move for this approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Yeah, hold on.
Are we not going to mention the other nominees?
Yeah, what we do is we throw a name out there. If they don't get a majority, we go to the next one. That's the way we've been doing it. Okay.
You have to call for the vote again because we didn't get.
Yeah. Okay, Matt Anderson on number 4. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Did you get that, Shelley? Okay, is that a majority? Okay. All right. Kane and Duncan, you want to take number 5?
Yes, this is an act amending Title 26, Section 78A of the Cherokee Nation Code, annotated to prohibit the witnessing of notarizing of absentee ballots by a candidate, and I would make a friendly that this be moved as a discussion item only.
Yes, this was sponsored by Councilor Dobbins.
Sir, if Councilman Dobbins would accept that.
Are you agreeable to that, Councilor?
Yes, sir, I would like to have
Okay.
discussion.
You have the floor.
Yeah, the council did exhaustive, positive work on our election code. It was a cooperative effort. And then, in turn, we also passed an alternative way to verify absentee ballots in the form of a photo ID and a witness. And particularly after the second alternative way, I just received input about some of the what. We tried to cover all the what ifs that we could, which is impossible. Our Cherokee people are very creative. And the what if that popped up, is it healthy for a candidate to be notarizing ballots or be that witness to that ballot? So I just wanted to address that, to see if that the council is aware of that. If we're comfortable with the candidate doing that, so be it. This is not a hill I'm willing to die on, but I just had I wrestled with that. I didn't know whether it'd be healthy for a candidate to be, well, first of all, I didn't know it was lawful for a candidate to be notarizing ballots in our elections, but apparently it is. And then we factor in this witness option as well, so we could have a candidate being notarizing and witnessing ballots in an election. So I'd like to have some input. We had a lot of input with our election code in general. Is this something we want to just put on the back burner, or is it something the council feels like we need to address?
You know, we established a work group to address the election codes. Was this discussed during your work group?
No, it was not. We tried to cover all the what ifs, but this was a what if that was not addressed.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Councilor Austin.
Just a clarification, you're not actually witnessing the ballot, you're witnessing the signature on the affidavit envelope, and that is substantially different. It's not, you're not supposed to be witnessing the ballot itself. That should be remaining private.
Okay. Anybody else? How many notaries do we have in here on the council? 1, 2. Okay.
And I've never notarized a ballot in my election.
Okay.
I'll just throw that out there.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? All right, Counselor Dobbins, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, we'll just leave it at that. Is that right, Shelley?
For discussion only, yes.
Okay. All right, moving down to number 6, provide memorial to families of employees. Counselor Duncan, you want to take that?
Yes, sir. This is an act relating to providing a memorial to families of employees whose deaths have resulted from COVID-19. I'll put that in the form of a motion. I'd like to say a few things.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
Yep. So this is an idea that I had along with my counterpart, Councilman Crittenden, and we put this together. It's something that we want to call the Catcher Decent Act of 2020. And that's for 2 Cherokee Nation employees. I think they were the first 2 that passed from COVID whenever all this started. Both of them are from Adair County. The first one is Karen Catcher. Of course, you all knew Karen Catcher. She was a lady that I not only respected as an employee of the Cherokee Nation, but she was a lady that I respected on a personal level. She was like a grandmother to me. I called her Granny, and she treated me and my family like we were nothing but family. And so I think this is a good honor for her and Miss Deason as well. I do want to read what the act says about Miss Catcher. So Karen Catcher dedicated her life to working in and for Indian country for over 40 years. Karen's most influential positions include Regional Director of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Eastern Oklahoma Region, and the Executive Director of Self-Governance for Cherokee Nation. Karen was well respected by all who knew her, both professionally and personally. And we could go on and on all day long about what Karen Catcher has done for Indian country and for the Cherokee Nation. I mean, it comes up daily as we meet. Just like yesterday, we had an issue come up, and we were able to say, you know what, Karen Catcher, she brought that issue forward. So I think this is a small thing that we as a legislative body can do to honor Karen. What this legislation would do is provide any employee that passes away of COVID of Cherokee Nation and our entities, so CMB, CNI would be included. It would provide the family $5,000 towards burial if they don't qualify for burial through our program, $5,000 towards a scholarship in that employee's name, or $5,000 towards a donation to a nonprofit organization of the family's choice in the name of the employee. And it also gives the option of the family to come up with an idea to use $5,000 to honor that employee. So with that being said, I would like to ask Councilman Crittenden, my counterpart, my good buddy, to say some words about Miss Faye Deason as well.
All right, this is an honor. This family, I don't have a closer friend than her son, Raven. When all this came about, it was, well, we all have friends and we all have family. You can imagine. But Faye Deason was married to Michael Deason, and they built a home in Wauhilla, raised 4 children, 1 son, 3 daughters. Faye and Mike attended Bidding Creek Baptist Church. Faye worked for Wilma Mankiller Health Clinic for 20 plus years. She worked in the diabetic department and absolutely loved her job. Faye enjoyed helping out when a Cherokee-speaking elder came to the clinic, and I witnessed them search her out. You know, they might not have been going to the diabetic clinic, but they'd search her out, and she'd help them, or maybe just a good visit. Faye was able to speak fluently with the elder to find out what they needed. She took great pride in her Cherokee heritage at her job and her home. She attended the Speakers Bureau, looked forward to each meeting. She would encourage her co-workers and family to attend the meetings. Faye also took every opportunity to strengthen her language. She would attend Cherokee language classes in the evenings as they were offered. Even though Faye was a fluent speaker, she took these classes to learn how to read and write the language. Definitely tried to pass her language to her family. She would speak Cherokee to her husband, children, and her grandchildren, and thought this was good. Even if they couldn't speak Cherokee, They absolutely knew what she meant by her tone. She has passed on notebook after notebook filled with notes and study guides for her family so the language and heritage could be passed on. She'd spend her time at home with music playing in the background, crafting, sewing, or just relaxing. Loved Cherokee singing. The family, the faith, wants to thank this council for honoring her in this manner, and family said they're blessed and grateful for this recognition. I thank you, Kanan, for coming up with this. Quick.
Good words there. Of course, I absolutely support this. I think it's a great concept. I was going to ask our chief of staff, what kind of numbers are we looking at here? If you were just going to project.
As far as number of employees that may be impacted by COVID?
That would fall under this legislation.
I wish I had a crystal ball. I will tell you that we have a couple of employees that are currently on ventilators. I'm concerned over the next couple of months we may have an increase in numbers. I would say probably no more than 15. So I hope I'm right about that.
Okay.
So I would probably say no more than 15.
We're talking about employees here.
Yeah.
Okay.
That includes Cherokee Nation businesses and CNI as well.
Okay. Yeah. Appreciate it. It's a good cause. I know that much, and every little bit helps out there.
Yeah. We have almost 12,000 employees between our businesses and our government, and 15's not a number we want to hear, but it's not bad given circumstances around the world. So I'm hoping I'm right and we don't exceed that number.
Yeah, it's some consolation to the families because you're not allowed to visit. You're not allowed. Sometimes you can get through on a phone call. Sometimes, and you just feel helpless. It's just, there's just a dire need to somehow to give some consolation to the families that have gone through this. It's a difficult thing that they've gone through. So thank you, Counselor. That's a good idea. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Counselor Nofar.
Great idea. Is it something that we might want to do in the future too, is maybe extend it out to those employees who just died from a heart attack or something like that, just because if we want to be able to make sure I want to cover every one of our employees who happen to die that's employed with us. I think it's, like I said, I don't think we need to change anything here. I think it is a great idea and a great move forward on it. It's just, if someone who lost their dad who worked for us while he was on the job had a heart attack and then his mother died from COVID, is there something that's more kind of significant than the other? Or I just want to make sure that all of our employees, if they lose a loved one, that they have an opportunity for us as a nation to be there for them if something was to happen. I don't know if that's something that we can discuss later. That's just an idea, because I think it's a great idea, and I want to extend it to every employee who happened to lose their life while working for us. It's a bad thing, and I want everyone to be covered by it. And I'm for this bill for sure, Kanan. I think it's a great idea, great job coming up with it. But just as an option to maybe look at that, to extend an opportunity for the rest of our employees if something was to happen to them while working for us.
Anybody else? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Like to sponsor?
Thank you, Council.
Anybody else want to sponsor? Okay, item number 8. Councilor Dobbins, you want to take that?
7.
7?
7 or 8?
7. We're rolling dice.
An act amending Title 47 of the Cherokee Nation Code, annotated and declaring an emergency. Put that in formal motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. Is it Title 21 or Title 47?
47?
Did we deal with Title 21 yet?
No.
It's coming up.
Oh,
It's in my book before
yeah,
that.
it's
Yeah,
back.
it is
it's
in
back.
mine too. So
And mine's like 47's first, 21's second.
Yeah, mine's all.
we're going by the agenda, not the,
That's 21:47.
not the tabs.
Okay, what'd you say, Shelley?
So we're going by the agenda, not the way they are in the tabs, and the tabs 7 and 8 are switched.
Okay, thank you.
So is this the vehicle,
No.
are we doing the vehicle or are we doing victims' compensation?
So 7 should be 47?
Yes.
Okay, so 7 should be 47.
Yeah, vehicle.
Everybody got that? Okay, and 8 should be 21. Counselor Shambaugh, you want to read that one?
7,
8.
8,
We just did 7.
but we didn't vote
Yeah,
on
we
it.
didn't.
Yeah, we're doing
But I just wanted to make a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
47 deals with traffic.
Okay.
21 deals with criminal law
Okay,
in the state statutes. That's just all I wanted to say.
good, thank you. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Counselor Shambaugh, you want to take 8?
This is an act in amending Title 21 of the Cherokee Nation Code annotated and declaring an emergency, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in
Speaker,
favor?
I got some discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
It's more of a comment. If you look inside here, when we worked on this, it should be the missing and murdered. We changed it to the Wellness Man Killer Protection Act because there's 21 Cherokees on that list. So instead of naming it one specific person, I thought it'd be better to name it after somebody who actually protected us and named it after her. So that's how I came up with the name, the Wellman Man Killer Protection Act. So I worked with Tim and AG to make sure we got that right. So that's all I had. I appreciate it.
Okay. Anybody else? Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, Counselor Duncan, would you lead number 9 for us? You saw, everybody had the changes that I put in there?
Yeah. So, I think there's new changes handed out. How do we want to introduce this?
This is actually a tribal council rules. And the thing that once I read it closer, in Part D, the confidential privilege and proprietary information. A lot of times, we have access as council members, and we take an oath on salaries that our people in our business side, that we have information. And we do not want to share that with our competitors. And some of that, when it comes through committee, a lot of those are even draft because they don't really become law until we actually have our council meeting. So, those are the things that I was looking at. And really, it needs to be expanded some. I mean, we police ourselves here as council members here. We really don't need another arm to come in and tell us how to do things. But again, it is a privilege and it is an honor. And it comes a lot of responsibility when you raise your hand and take that oath as council members when it says privilege and confidential information. So I'm just letting you guys know what you have in front of you. And if I say privilege and confidential information, then it beats me home. Then that's not privilege and confidential information. So I'm just saying, let us, as council members, we're all adults, let us learn how to police ourselves. If this can be handled with just a discussion and bring it out on what I'm telling you, then it's okay with me. But if it's something that we need to look at and discuss, then that's why I brought this up for discussion. So I'm going to open it up. Yes, Councilman.
So as of right now, let's say, we have something that's confidential for the Cherokee Nation's interests and the social media world we live in, somebody puts that on, or shares that with someone that then puts that on social media. What is the protections against that right now? I don't know if Tim or AG want to.
Sarah, our town secretary, you want to answer that?
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry, Councilman.
There.
What do we have in place at this time?
So Tim's on too.
Okay, is Tim on?
He's trying to speak, yes.
Okay, Tim, you want to give it a shot? What do we have in place was the question. That if one of us divulge proprietary information, what do we have in place that monitors what we do, and where do we get out of line there ethically, legally, whatever the boundaries that may be in place. Tim, you want to try that?
Can you hear me, Speaker?
Yes.
Okay, under Title 19, which is the code that regulates the council, the Section 45H, which specifically addresses this issue, making it a crime for anybody that divulges privileged, confidential, or proprietary information. I think, essentially, that shifts the burden onto the Attorney General to enforce that. I think the purpose of putting this in the council rules is to allow the council to self-regulate itself. The burden is a lot lower when it comes to enforcing rules versus laws. And I think that's really kind of where you get into, how do you prove that somebody did this? The Attorney General has a significantly higher burden to show that somebody has committed a crime versus the council essentially voting in their opinion on if a rule has been broken. So I think, I've been asked, who sets these standards when it comes to the council rules? And my answer is that the council does. It's either a majority, or in this case, the way the rule is drafted, it would be a 2/3 vote for censure or a 3/4 vote for referral to the AG. It doesn't take the council referral for the AG to prosecute somebody for violating any of our laws, but it would require, if the council wanted to formalize it in the form of some kind of resolution. And again, these are just punishments for violating rules as opposed to punishments for violating criminal laws. So hopefully that halfway answers everyone's question.
Yes. Any more discussion out there, council members? This is your time. Yeah, Councilor Buzzard.
Yes, after reading the policy changes on that, I feel like it restricts each council member too much. To give you an example, I have a brother or brother-in-law that's an attorney. That kind of stopped me from talking to him. On the other hand, if he's not my brother or brother-in-law as an attorney, and I talk to an attorney, that is client privileges to that attorney, and they're not going to share it anyway. I think what we have in place right now is sufficient because I think what we're going to do, you're going to put more division, or you're going to put a division within the tribal council members. I think what we've got now, you stamp confidential on the thing. I'm an adult and I know what confidential means, and I respect that, and I respect it now as it is. So I'll be voting no for this policy change.
Okay. Anybody else?
Joe, you're next. Mr. Speaker?
Yes, Councilor Coates, you're up.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to verify a couple of things. The word sensitive in here, I wanted to verify that means sensitive in the same way that we define it in other pieces of legislation or policy that means that we don't divulge things like social security numbers, phone numbers, addresses, grade point averages, et cetera, and that it has that limited definition of what sensitive means. But this is not just a subjective definition of what each individual tribal counselor might think is sensitive, a sensitive topic or something like that. Can either Mr. Brown or A.G. Hill or anybody, verify that is indeed the meaning of sensitive in this?
Councilor Coates, do you have the one that's revised version? Do you have that? That was handed out. That word sensitive, and I recommended that to be stricken from this discussion item. Do you have that?
Okay, that's the one Shelley just sent me then, and I hadn't had a chance to to look at it and presumed it was the same as the old, so.
No,
Okay.
and that's a very good
So that
point.
word is stricken from it?
Yes, that's a very good point that you make. When I saw that, I thought the word sensitive was too vague. So that doesn't fit in my way of thinking of us, of our policies that we have in place.
Okay. Thank you. I've got a couple of other questions. Going back to Counselor Buzzard's point about the word privileged. Attorney-client privilege is something that I think we all understand. We are not attorneys, but we are all privy to the same privileged information, whether, we have, for instance, if I put in a GRA request and I receive privileged information of some sort or proprietary information of some sort, would this limit me from sharing that with another tribal counselor who presumably holds the same level of position that I do, but who may not have made the specific GRA request?
I would say it'd be open to council members. Anybody want to make a comment on that?
Tim did. Tim did.
Yes, go ahead.
I think specifically it says you may not disclose to third parties. So I would assume that, if you're a council member, collectively you are a client, individually you are a client. I think that specifically Councilmember Coates on privileged information, each of you do have the ability to waive your attorney-client privilege. I think the intent of this is to prevent unilateral waiver of that privilege. So I think, but to answer your question, I don't believe that you sharing information with somebody who is authorized to receive it would be a violation of this rule.
Okay, thank you. And my last question about this is, there's a sentence, and maybe this has been clarified in the one that Shelley sent me that I'm not really able to enlarge, unfortunately. There was a word in here in the original version that said shall include being officially censored. And I think the word desired is censured, which is a different word. Has that been changed in the new version that was handed out?
It's removed. It's been removed.
It's been removed as well, Counselor.
It's been removed completely?
Yes.
Okay. My apologies for not having the access to the new one.
That's okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Anybody else? Yes, Counselor No Fire.
I think that, if we want to remind everybody by bringing this up on what our law is, on how we can go about conducting our business, but at the same time restricting ourselves from privileged or confidential information. It's black and white within our own law book. Whenever you add this into our rules, it becomes a potential divisive nature. And that's something you don't want to do. To me, you would never want to possibly arm the council with the ability to be so divisive. You've got in here, privilege and confidential shall include, but not limited to. Who's going to determine the not limited to factor when it comes to the Title 19, Section 45E, which states very clear in our law of what privilege and confidential is under the Freedom of Information Act and what you can share and can't share. So it's black and white here, but whenever you put not limited to, it opens it up for a whole other can of worms. You don't know who's going to be determining that. Is it going to be counselors making that independent determination because for any reason? And you just don't want to introduce that into our council amongst ourselves. If we've got issues or conflicts with one another, we can handle those. But to be able to introduce a rule to where that may be weaponized against a counselor or a couple of counselors is not something I think we need to do. But as far as recognizing what we have in our law, absolutely, we should recognize what we have in our law. So appreciate Speaker.
Okay. Counselor Shambo.
I guess I look at this a little different. This is about the council and what about the council's approval. I don't think it, in the end, I don't think it has to do with anything else. It's about the council. I've seen legislation recently that criminalizes things that weren't criminal. They've been put in front of us. There's a lot of different things that have happened here and that seem to pop up kind of in the spur of the moment. And I think at some point in time, we need to review all of our, the things that we can want to change in our bylaws and in our rules. We need to have an actual time where we sit down and look at all of them, and if there's a time that we need to say, hey, this needs to be changed or this needs to be changed, we need to look at all of them together and not kind of pick and choose, as we go along. I think we need to do it all at one time. Review this at one time, somewhere in the future. I would just suggest that we do that, and if there's anything like this that comes up, then we can discuss it from everything as a whole. That's just my thoughts. I think maybe we could defer it to the future, and if there's things that need to be discussed, then we collectively as a council bring these concerns, out in the open at one time about everything. That's just my thoughts.
Good point. Yes, Councilor Vespa.
In relation to what Councilor Shambaugh said, I believe that it's important enough that we should, in the future, form a work group to look at everything and then present it to the council.
I agree.
That's my thought.
Yes, Councilor Critton.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said, Speaker, a while ago about, just, an agreement within us to police ourselves. And I think the big elephant in the room that we don't want to talk about very much is social media.
Right.
Long before social media, I don't see a lot of this stuff, coming to light. But social media, like Councilor Vasquez said, we're going to have to, Facebook's been a tool for me, and it's, some of us view it like, oh, that's teenager stuff, but the truth is, it's a real thing, and we have to accept it as not just something our little teeny boppers do, tweet and stuff. It's real. So sometime in the future, I'm not saying I want to form one right now, but we gotta talk about the old social media. And when I was looking at this, I never took it as keeping stuff for my constituents, because I'd never do that. They put me in this seat right here. But what came to mind is, the administration, there's some things they don't have to tell us. I mean, there's some things they don't have to tell us. As far as services, different things coming up, that they share with us early. And then if we in turn politicize it some way, it's just they're going to be hesitant to give me that information about services that's coming up, and I'm not going to feel ready or prepared for, these wonderful services that are coming up. And they don't just deal with services, but this is definitely interesting, and I honestly don't know at this point where we go from here.
I tell you what, I was thinking, this is what I was wanting to hear. I was wanting to hear input from everyone. We've had some really good information come out. Councilor Coates mentioned those words, sensitive and those words like that, and those are the ones I didn't agree with as well in the original document. But we've had a good discussion here. I just wanted the council members and the committee to be aware of what's out there, and we do need to come back sometime, not today, and come back and look at this and maybe do a work group and say, like Councilor Shambaugh said, let's look at what we have in place right now for the council members, because I don't think it's been addressed in a while, and times are changing. And like you said, Councilor Critton, social media, we better start looking at how are we in compliance with ourselves and how we handle our business of the Cherokee Nation. when our CEO from Hard Rock gives a report, last thing I'm gonna ask him is, what is our salaries of our CEO and Chief Financial Officer? What percent are we operating right now? We type of things I don't want our opposition to know. Now, once we leave this room, I can go out there and he'll say, right here, Speaker. And that's the way we communicate with that type of information. So I think we get the picture. And at this time, with the discussion that we'd have, I move for a motion to table if somebody will do it. And later, if the committee or council wants to, we'll come back and form a work group. Got a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Councilor Shambaugh?
If I could, just really quick.
Go ahead.
Sir, I think this was something that needed to be heard today. I think this is very important because, whenever we get these documents that say confidential, do not disseminate, when we get those, it's important that we don't do that. That is given to us in trust, and it is for our eyes only. And if you violate that trust, it'll be hard to be trusted to receive anything else. I agree. But there are some things that, need to go in front of the camera and some things that don't.
Right.
And, I'm not saying that in a bad way, but there are some sensitive issues that we cannot discuss legally anyway. And we shouldn't disseminate them unless we're in, unless it's out from in front of the camera where it can't be discussed in public, like personnel matters and things like this. But I think this is a good thing to come out. I do. I think it's something that we needed to see, and it could become, just like Sean said, on social media. This can be a big thing. So we just need, as councilmen, we really need to look at what we do on social media, and is this really something that we should put on social media ethically? So that's all I have to say.
Anybody else? Okay. We voted, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next item, discussion only. Councilor Buzzer. Thank you.
Yeah, tonight, I was going to bring this forward as a resolution, but I thought it may be better to have for discussion only today, to get some input from the other tribal council members. But this is talking about the motor fuel tax policy. Now, that policy has been in effect for probably 15 years. When the compact come about, I think it was 20% went to roads issues, 20% to marshals, 38% to the schools, and the rest of it went into the administrative and general funds. Well, as the years passed, we've had different districts line up to population-wise. And the way the motor fuels tax was distributed to council members was, you have $700 and some thousand divided 15 ways. Well, those were meant to go to law enforcement. But what I've seen in some of the districts, and my district is what I'm talking about, is I have 11 law enforcement agencies in my district. I distribute 11, probably between around $28,000 to $30,000 a year, maybe more now with the tax that we're doing. But the law enforcement people in my district, they're all appreciative of the money, but it doesn't go very far because I've got so many in my district. So what's happening is with the districts the way they are now, I'm going to use my district as an example. We have Salina. That district is split between 3 different council members, and I think we all contribute to the Salina Police Department. Well, I have other police departments in my district, for instance, Spavinal. They don't have a tax base there to support police. And I have Disney, and I have Langley, I have Fairland, I have Afton, I have Grove, I have Jay. All of those are small communities that don't have a large tax base in order to collect taxes to pay their police force. Now, on the other hand, we look at the Telecog district. We had 3 tribal council members there, and they all support, you know, probably the city of Telecog, the police department. So they get a big chunk of money. So what I'm looking at is, with the McGirt decision coming down, it's going to have to encompass everybody, the small police department, the large police department, and the law enforcement of each district. So what I think would be nice if we could just split that between districts, between fire department, police department, just like we do fire departments. Now, you know, every year we give around 450 to 500,000 to fire departments, and they're all split on an equal basis. You take, for instance, the Tulsa Police Department. Councilman Deere, that's in his district, but Tulsa Police probably has a budget of $400,000 to $500,000 a year. So a $4,000 or $5,000 donation to them is kind of a drop in the bucket of what they're used to spending. Whereas on the other hand, if I give $3,500 to Spavinaw, that's a big deal. So what I'm saying is, I just want to get feedback to see what the other council members think about splitting it up like we do the fire department, so every police department gets an equal share. Now, some police departments and sheriff departments, sometimes they come and ask you for special project dollars. And what I would recommend is reserving 10-12% back for each tribal council members to reserve that for those type of projects. I just don't feel like that with the McGirt decision coming out that we're going to be equally represented if we continue to do it like we are. I've looked at some of the council members' district. It's like, I'm going to use Councilor Critten's district over there. I don't know how many police departments that he has, but he has 4. And then I'm sure he and Councilor Duncan each contribute to the Stillwell Police Department. Well, they get a pretty good chunk of money. Then he's got 3 more that he may distribute it to. So I just think there's a more possibility to be more fair about police departments and sheriff departments. I agree the sheriff department probably needs more money because they cover a bigger district and cover a bigger area. So those things can be taken into consideration of what we do. The other thing is, well, that's basically what I wanted to bring out today, and I want to get some feedback from the other tribal council members to see how they feel about it. I know, and I'm going to use District 1, 2, and 3. You know, I don't know how many police departments are in that district, but it's not like having the 10 or 11 I have in my district. So anyway, I just want to open it up for questions, answers, or discussions, or even suggestions of how this may be more equitable to each district.
Okay, Councilor Duncan.
Yeah, this is something that Councilor Buzzard had talked to me about too one day, and I see where he's coming from, and it is something. We do need to talk about this, and we do need to address this because you know, when we put our hand on the Bible and take that oath, we're going to serve not only our districts but every district equally, and so I think Councilor Buzzard really does have an issue there with he's got so many there in his district, and I'm not sure. What I'd like to know is rather than revamping the whole idea and doing it kind of like the fire departments, does this affect anyone else like it does Councilor Buzzard? Council Lady Taylor. So
8.
You have 8. So what if, you know, if it's just 2 of you guys, why don't we look at just giving the both of you guys a little extra money based upon how many you have?
How many do you have, Councilor Duncan?
4.
See, we have 6. I have 6 without even including these 2 guys.
Yeah.
And what I do is I'll give the Tahlequah once, I'll give the Illinois River once, and see who's really in need. I mean, it's not every year I give to the same ones, and that's the way I've been trying to budget what's given to me.
Yeah.
So anybody else? What do you got, Austin?
I believe by a quick count, I have 11 law enforcement agencies and then the E911 center that we have also been supporting through this. And that's the way that it is right now. It's equally distributed to 15 people, but by our law, we're also supposed to be representing approximately the same number of people. We're supposed to be representing, within 10% of approximately the same amount of people by our equal representation. And so, just because you have a different number of law enforcement agencies, which I'm one who has a lot, I'm not so sure that it makes sense, because it's really based off the population the way that it currently is. It's distributed by the 15 districts. And so their district has a very high population of Cherokees. So their police departments and sheriff's departments, their population mix is going to be much richer. So that will, I'm not sure that would actually be serving the individual Cherokees equally, is my point, to change it.
I guess what we need to do, Chief of Staff, is see, if I'm talking about giving to NICUT, I need to find out how many Cherokees actually live in NICUT. I mean, I may have, 5, and Canaan may just have 1, but he may be serving more Cherokees. I mean, we need more information.
Yeah, as you guys were discussing this, and I see Councilor Buzzard's point and the discussion you guys have had so far, it's a balance of need of the law enforcement organizations in your districts is weighted against the total population of Cherokees. And in light of McGirt, that's going to elevate that potential demand upon those law enforcement entities. And so I was sitting there crunching the numbers in my head and thinking about how to cross-reference things. And so if the council would like, I'd like to go back and look at a population study and look at all of our law enforcement entities and balance that out and try to come up with some analysis so that you guys can have some additional information. Obviously, you guys know quite well how many are in your districts, but as far as law enforcement entities and how you support them. But I would like to provide you some more information and make the best decision possible as you weigh this.
That makes sense, Councilor Buzzer?
Yes, and I think there's some really good points brought up today. And just to respond back to Councilor Austin a little bit, it's like city of Claremore. Their tax base is no telling what the tax base is of J. So what I'm saying is the police department in Claremore has the ability to hire more police officers. And the money that Councilor Austin donates to them is probably a drop in the bucket as to what their budget is. Back to the McGirt decision, that's going to apply to everybody across the 14 county jurisdiction. Whether if you live in Spavinaw, Salina, or the smaller towns in the rural parts of Oklahoma. Tahlequah is a good example. You have a fairly good tax base in Tahlequah, so you're able to pay your police department a fairly good salary. You look at Spavinaw, we can't afford to pay probably 1 officer, and you do good to get the money for them because we don't have a tax base. And the $3,000 or the $3,500 that I donate to them won't even hire a police officer versus the town of Fort Gibson. They have a good tax base there. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration when you look at that. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, I just think McGirt is going to make a lot of difference of how we go about doing the criminal part of the McGirt decision that's eventually going to come down and it's going to be implied on everybody here. So that's good input. thank you, Councilor Austin, for bringing that to our attention. And it's just like, I don't donate to our 9/11 system because I don't have enough money. I don't donate to any old camp, but I do, but very little. I give them $500. And it's just like that. I just don't have enough money to go around. And so I think analysis of the whole project is probably forthcoming and needs to be done. Thank you, sir.
Councilor Shambaugh.
Well, there is a big difference between agencies. I mean, when you're talking about big agencies and small agencies, I know without giving Colcord any money, Colcord has no tax base, and I gave them $20,000. They had to scrunch 3 cars into $20,000, and they are ecstatic to get it because there's no other way to get it. $20,000 to Claremore or even Grove is nothing. I mean, that's, when you're talking over $1 million budgets, that really means nothing. But really, the small places suffer a bit. When I got elected, I don't give to Police Department because I'm the chief. I will not give to my own department. So our money has gone down about $10,000 a year from what we used to get. So that hurts me, but I still get by. But now we've lost Walmart, so things have changed in that. But whenever we start talking about McGirt and what's going to happen with McGirt to everybody, I hope you all understand that to properly keep our people protected, to properly protect our marshals, our fire, our EMS, the Marshal Service can't do this by themselves. So if we start talking about concurrent jurisdictions to everybody, say Police Department is cross-deputized to take care of Indian citizens in their city limits. All these, if we do this with everybody, every ticket that's written to a Native American will have to go back to tribal court. It will not be handled in those individual cities. So all those tickets are going to be coming back to us, Cherokee Nation. Now, we're going to have people doing our work for us, so to say. So more than likely, they're going to have to get something out of this for processing it in their court. I mean, they're going to have to get a percentage of what they do. I mean, I'm just talking out loud. That's probably the way it's going to have to work. It's not going to be just, they do all of our work and we reap all the benefits of it. There's going to be percentages given back to those people who are helping us keep our people safe. So there's going to be more money coming in a way, and they're going to be losing money, even with taxes. Cities are going to be losing money in taxes when we start collecting it. I know that, schools get back money from their taxes from the state. But we are going to now have those taxes, and I have school officials. What are we going to do to get that money that we got from the state in taxes? So there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be probably going to reach a little shortfall than what they're used to. So I agree. These small departments, they barely get by, and the stuff that they drive, 250,000 miles on a car is nothing. It's nothing. And when I get people calling me saying we are paying more in repairs per month than this car cost, that's what a lot of these little agencies are running into. And yeah, it needs to be looked at. The rural fire departments have run into this same thing. The money they get from the counties and the state, there's people who make hundreds of runs a year, and there's fire departments who make 5 runs a year. Yet they get the same money. They've got shiny, brand new equipment that never gets used, and that's just the way it's been. But, this McGirt deal gives us the unique opportunity to fix a lot of the problems that the state has had. I mean, we've learned from their mistakes. We can make it better for the Cherokee Nation by not getting into those same things that the state has done. And I think whether it's scary, it's going to be a great way for us to improve on how we serve our people and how we serve our emergency management systems. That's just my thoughts, sir.
Councilor Piskowski.
I was just thinking that another point to consider is, I think historically, Cherokee Nation has done redistricting a few years after a census. which we have just come through. So I would think that the possibility of redistricting could happen, who knows? That would have some play in what you're talking about.
It's coming up.
Just a thought.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think it's almost time to review that again. Yes, Councilor Crittenden, you have a comment?
Yeah, most of my questions have been answered, and I just want to support Harley. I mean, everybody can see what he's going through Disney. I think Todd's going to analyze places like that, see where the need is and stuff. And
Disney World.
I just support whatever you come up with, because, you know, some of us, we're sitting pretty. You know, me and Kane having 4. And so I seen something that some of these smaller places that's hurting, maybe got a little more here and there. I'm just going to support you guys. Appreciate you bringing that up, Harley. Thank you.
Anybody else? You know, amazes me. Yes. Councilor Dick?
Yeah, I just want to say, Tulsa PD, their budget's $143 million a year. And we just finished getting all their cross deputization, which includes a lot of officers. So when we give them $6,000, like I talked to Councilor Buzzard, it really is a drop in the bucket. But, you know, we have to be more creative because we butt up to the at-large council. So I don't know where the creeks are on that. But I know in our district, when we give them $6,000, I mean, it's a very small amount to give compared to these other districts like Jay and those. So yeah, I think with Chief of Staff looking at it, we need to figure out a better way to distribute this to help the people that really need it based on those Cherokee citizens.
You know, a lot of those people like Tulsa and some of those, we do have cross-deputization. We provide some resources there, correct, Chief of Staff?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, what did they do before Cherokee Nation came along?
It was Wild West.
I guess.
Pony Express and horses.
Yeah, we survived, it seemed like, and but like Council Shambaugh said, we can learn off of the state's mistakes and improve on how we take care of our people.
There's, if I may, one thing there's a lot of data that we can look at as we sit here and discuss that. You know, we could plug in the number of officers they have and how much their total spend is and what our total contribution is to that entity. We could look at crime rate that's at least been reported in those jurisdictions. We look at how big their jurisdiction area is as total number of square miles that they cover. And so there's a lot of analysis and things that we can do to try and be most strategic on how we support those communities and those police departments to make sure that we are providing greatest public safety to our citizens.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Buzzard.
Yeah, just one last closing thing. Thank you, fellow travel members, for the input. I think there was some good input here today. But you know what I've always used as being a tribal council member is put the money where the need is. I don't think you can ever go wrong when you do that. That was my philosophy, is I put the money where the need is, and I don't think anybody could ever question you. If you put money, like Councilor Shambaugh said, call for it, there's a big need over there. And I think he's done right by supporting that town. So I just think, always keep it in mind, you know, just put the money where the need is. You know, if there's need out there for Stillwell, you know, let's put the money there. Let's put the money where the need is. And I think if we do that and think on those terms, you never go wrong. So thank you all for your input, and I look forward to some analysis. Thank you.
Okay, good discussion. So discussion only, is that it, Shelley? Okay, we'll move right along. Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, I was going to go announcements. Any announcements?
You ready? Supposed to come early.
All right, motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye.